This is Rashid Sayed from GamingBall.com, here to review Guerrilla Games' next game in the sci-fi shooter franchise, Killzone 3. Ever since that infamous Killzone 2 trailer was shown at E3 2005, every future game in the franchise was set for an insane amount of hype. Killzone 2 was one of those rare games that not only managed to live it, but was successful in suppressing it. The game was known for its breathtaking visuals and an addictive multiplayer that sucked me right in for hours and hours of gameplay. In short, Killzone 2 was a humongous success compared to the original Killzone on the PS2. Unfortunately, Killzone 3 does not best what Killzone 2 did 2 years ago, but manages to salvage some pride due to its vistas and a deep multiplayer experience. Killzone 3 takes place directly after the events of Killzone 2, with the ISA in a total mess after Rico kills Visari, the leader of the Helghans. As you all know, the plot of Killzone 2 was nothing to speak about, but fortunately the third game manages to put some sense into it. After the fall of Visari, the Helghas Empire finds itself in a state of internal struggle between the two heirs, Stahl and Admiral Orlok. Guerrilla Games have done a neat job of focusing the events that takes place between the now Helghan leaders and the struggles of Sev and the ISA. The plot also takes a look at the complex relationship between Naval and Rico as they hardly come to terms with each other but still work in unity to stop the Helghan offense. You will also see many new faces belonging to the higher order of the Helghans disputing on who should be their visionary leader after Visari. We'll get to see a Helghan soldier killing another Helghan soldier, a Helghan leader fighting another Helghan leader. It's all there in Killzone 3. Overall, the plot is one of the highlights of the game. Now let's jump straight to the gameplay. After going through the initial few moments, you will be zapped into the future where you will be disguised as a Helghan. This serves nothing but a tutorial section where you will learn the basic mechanics of shooting and other stuff that you will need to adopt in the game. So the game takes place in pieces of flashback set 6 months apart. One of the things that I really loved about Killzone 2 was the feel of the weapons, and fortunately, Killzone 3 does not disappoint in this department. The weapons have the unique weighty feel to them, and you can actually feel the difference of holding a shotgun or a handgun somehow. There are tons of weapons that Guerrilla have provided in the game, and some of them are truly fun. In Killzone 2, your best buddy was the M82 assault rifle, but now there are a host of options you can choose from. You'll come across the likes of favorite oldies like the VC9 rocket launcher, LS13 shotgun, and VC32 sniper rifle, along with some new ones like my favorite, the Wasp launcher. Though you're only going to use this baby only a couple of times in the single player campaign, it is a blast while it lasts. The launcher, as the name suggests, will launch heat-seeking missiles and auto-lock its target, destroying everything in the environment. You can also detach sentry weapons like the VC116 and LS116 and take on hordes of Helghans at once. And I just can't forget two weapons which were insane, the ST-A5X and VC21 bolt gun. The former will fire balls with high velocity and will get the Helghans to stuck into any nearby object and then blowing them into pieces, and the latter, which fires a grenade, suffocate your enemies until they blast. Mechs also make a return in Killzone 3. During some sections in the gameplay, you will be required to take down tanks and other important enemy points, and that is where mechs will come into the picture. LS-209 Exoskeleton, as they are called in the game, is highly agile and comes with a standard missile launcher and a gun. But just like in the previous game, the mech sections form a very tiny part of the gameplay. Jetpacks, which we first saw at last year's E3, are a ton of fun, and in fact one entire section is based on them, where you will have to traverse from one higher location to another or jump between structures far apart. The jetpack comes in with two guns, enough to take down any Helghan inside. There are also vehicle sections in Killzone 3, which adds more depth into the already solid gameplay. I think Visari really meant it when he said the madness begins, because the Helghans are insane and they really want to kill you. And this is one of the major points where Killzone 3 has improved on its predecessor. The AI of the enemy is perhaps one of the best, if not the best, that I have witnessed in video games. I think the developers have mapped the movement of your gun to that of the Helghans, since they were so smart in moving around and changing covers. Also, these guys are not your mummy-like enemies. They won't go down easily, with each of them needing a good chunk of ammo before they fall down. There are also few new enemy types like bots, spiders, and most notably the Helghan carriers. The Helghan carriers are nothing but fast-moving dinosaurs like mechs who will fire missiles at sight. Your best bet is to use the bolt gun or the missile launcher to blow them out. The standard Helghan soldiers, the RPG guys, snipers, and flamethrowers all return with an advanced AI in Killzone 3 and a threat unseen in previous games. The one thing about Killzone 3 that I am really disappointed is the lack of boss fights. There is only one boss fight which we already played 2 months ago in the preview code, one that you are probably aware of. Other than that, Killzone 3 fails to deliver great boss fights. Something like the one with Red Act, not to mention the last fight, is horrible. Level design is a key element in first-person shooter games, and Killzone 3 has an amazing one. The levels have been intelligently designed, with each of them providing cover to the player and hence making your fights more fair rather than difficult where anyone can shoot you blindly. There is one particular level in the game where you have to change your pace and be stealthy in your approach. You have to stick to your shadows and carry out a series of melee moves and use your environments to get through. I think the developers took a leaf from Call of Duty, but nevertheless, this provides a nice change of pace in the gameplay. There have been no changes in the default controls of Killzone 3, which might not go well with some players, but I think you can always customize that via the options screen. But I think the default worked just right to me, or maybe I just got acquainted with it due to the insane number of hours that I had put behind the second game. In short, if you already loved it, then you should have no issues with it, but if you are facing problems, there is an option to change it. Killzone 3 comes packed with support for Sony's PlayStation Move, and to be honest, I did not enjoy it. I think Sony should not forcefully implement Move with every big game of theirs, as I think this was just an unnecessary addition. Again, this may work with some players, but unfortunately it did not work with me. One nice thing about the Move support was the camera was a bit zoomed in, which gave you more insight into the stunning visuals of Killzone 3. That brings me to the graphics. I think words can't possibly describe how beautiful the game looks. Guerrilla Games have added more colors this time around, and each level really looks outstanding. The destroyed world of Helgas, the marshes and the fight in the space looks absolutely stunning. The character models are easily multiple times better than what we saw in Killzone 2. The lip syncing is on the spot, and the voice acting by every character is Hollywood level. The sound is a bit of a miss and a hit. During some level the score just matches the environment and the gameplay pretty well, but during some it was totally off. Multiplayer is better than ever in Killzone 3. There are basically 3 online modes: Warzone, Operations and Guerrilla Warfare. Guerrilla Warfare is nothing but your classic 16-player deathmatch, whereas the Warzone is much more varied where the gameplay mechanic changes from assassination, capture and hold and bomb planting. Operation, which is easily one of my favorites, is pretty close to a minigame in itself where the ISA will go on the offensive and the Helgans have to defend their territory. This requires the ISA team to plant bombs and capture and hold areas. The most unique thing about this mode is the cutscenes that are played out within various sections of the mode, essentially making it one of the addictive online modes in the game. Also, just for the record, there are 8 maps with one of them having snowstorm, which means visibility may be a factor in this map. There are a total of 5 character classes and each of them can earn some massive amounts of XP if they utilize their respective abilities in the manner required. As we had mentioned in a Killzone 3 preview, skill points are a welcome addition to the multiplayer modes. Instead of leveling up linearly, one can spend those skills on any of the classes mentioned above. Again, this gives a nice balance to the gameplay since the player can spend those skill points either on one class or multiple classes. Co-op is a new addition to the series where you and your buddy team up to play as Rico and Seth, whilst adding a new dimension to the campaign mode. However, I really think that Guerrilla should have included an online co-op mode as well. One good addition is that you can check out the multiplayer modes offline via the bot zone, which will pit you in a group of bots to give you a pretty neat offline multiplayer experience. Killzone 3 is not a game without flaws. I experienced freezing issues wherein the game will hold for more than a moment, which is nothing big, but still it should not have been present in the first place. There were also a few moments where the characters will repeat what they said, hence bogging down the experience a bit. The length of the single player is very short. I completed it in less than 5 hours, and in my book it is unacceptable. However, when I weigh the shortcomings with the awesome multiplayer modes, excellent gameplay, engaging plot and mind-boggling visuals, Killzone 3 is well worth your money. It is just a bit disappointing that there was so much hype associated with this game, and unlike Killzone 2, it did not quite deliver. Overall, Killzone 3 is a pretty solid sci-fi shooter, and I will be on the lookout as to what Guerrilla Games will do with Killzone 4 if there is ever one. This is Rashid Sayyed signing off and wishing you happy gaming day after day.